Good afternoon. Thanks for joining me once again on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon. Hi, I'm David O, and this is In the Know with David O. We bring you guests who have expertise and experience that can really add something to your base of knowledge, and I hope fill you with new ideas and new incentives in order to live a better life. First, let me thank the show's sponsor, that is Weinerman Pain and Wellness. They do a wonderful job of helping those who have been injured to get back to as full a life as possible, both physically and then emotionally as well. And of course, Philly Labor and all the sponsors of this show. Today's show, we're going to be talking with Joe Brooks. He's the president and CEO of Liberty USO, and they cover all of Pennsylvania and southern New Jersey. And in particular, they have an event at the end of this week on Friday, the 76th annual USO Gala. And sitting in studio with me, because Joe is going to be joining us by telephone. He's actually traveling. He's in Washington, D.C., doing the work that he does. He's so busy. But we are, just so pleased to have Laura Lewis joining us. And if you've heard her name, she is a person who does creative services as well as public affairs for the Beasley Media Group. That not only includes this station, WWDB 860, but also 610 Sports. Ben 95.7 FM, The Fanatic, and WNGK. And so she's here because she actually has been engaged with me. She engages me and others to support the USO Gala and the USO. And then we'll be joined by Clayton Prince. He is a Philadelphia-based actor, director, writer, and producer. Many people may remember him from The Cosby Show. Well, he's a lot older now. He's not old by any stretch of the imagination. But what has changed about his career? And he has come out with a 4-part series, I'd say, or a series of 4 episodes. It's called Cream. It's available on Amazon. But there's something more interesting about that background and about him, and perhaps about you in your future as you pursue the creative arts economy. And then we'll be talking to James Douglas. He's the commander for ACES Museum, honoring our African American veterans, particularly from World War II, but then to other wars and other groups of people. That's in Germantown, and we'll get a chance to talk to him about why that's important, what they do, and what their expectations are for the future. At this time, let me see if Joe Brooks is on the line. Joe, are you here? Oh, perfect. Hey, thanks for taking time. You're down in Washington. I know you're busy, but especially with the big gala coming up on Friday, and I'm pretty sure it's sold out. It always is. How are you guys doing with the gala? Yes. All right, and even though it is sold out, I mean, people can still make a donation online at libertyuso.org, O-R-G. Mm-hmm. Yes. 41,000 hours. Goodness. Right. 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 Wow.
Now, Joe, you have a line, and you talk about this all the time. The USO is the bridge between the civilians and our military, and we don't think about it in this area, how many people are affected by the USO, because it's not just the guy or the gal who puts on the uniform every day, it's their families, it's the spouses who have signed up just the same as the military. And the programming that the USO offers, Joe and the group down there do this year-round, school time, holidays, emergency relief. They take care of the families of our fighters as well.
Wow, they sure do, yeah. And Joe, when we talk about people who can volunteer, and you know, for our listeners, the Liberty USO, headquartered here in Philadelphia, but serving all of Pennsylvania and southern New Jersey, operates numerous centers and things like that. But the international airport, where so many families and so many of our military come through, when you talk about volunteers, let me ask you, like, let's say we have a musician and they're a pretty good guitar player. Can they volunteer to entertain the troops? Right. Yes. Mm-hmm. Wow, that's all? I didn't realize that. Boy, you did a mountain of work for that small staff. Yes. Mm. Well, I'm sure a lot of our listeners like hearing that. Yes. Yes. Mm. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, we'd love to hear about it, sure. Okay, all right. Glad you said that. Okay. All right, another good thing. Safety belt on, I assume. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Right. Yes. Yes. Yeah, and again, for those who are listening and say, hey, listen, I really agree with what Joe Brooks is saying, and in fact, I want to do more. I want to learn more. I want to volunteer. I want to maybe make a donation. Again, on the internet, libertyuso.org. Joe. Hmm. Oh. Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. All right, can I ask you real quickly, and I'll ask Laura, what's in store for everyone, including our military, this Friday?
Oh, this Friday is the day for the USO. This year it is our 76th anniversary, so we are celebrating the spirit of 76. You've mentioned the gala, which unfortunately, or fortunately, of course, for our point of view, is sold out, but that we're honoring Comcast this year, and we're honoring Medal of Honor winner, Colonel Jack Jacobs. And we also, every year, recognize one member of each branch of the military. That's the Coast Guard, the Marines, the Navy, the Army, the Air Force,
Yes.
and they are chosen by their peers. Their commanding officers nominate and we select one member from each branch of the service. And this year we are adding another award for our former leader, Wesley Craig. General Craig has an award this year. We're recognizing one member of the military, and these are individuals who have gone beyond what they do when they put the uniform on. These are guys who and women who organize runs or charity drives. These are people who go out. Joe, what are some of our winners this year they did?
Yes, very true. Right. Right. Well, that's certainly, high praise for some very humble people. And I would like to say that the USO, Liberty USO, is, in my opinion, the best of the best. You guys do a fantastic job. And among the many things you do, well, the gala this Friday, 700 people will be attending. Just a really top-notch event. Everybody will not only be doing something very worthy, but they will have a great time.
And I know we're trying to wrap this up, but we do have to mention thank you, Councilman O, because each year those service members get a wonderful tour of City Hall, and they visit council chambers where they do receive citations acknowledging how they have gone over and above for their branch and for all of us each year, and they are honored, and they get a lovely luncheon hosted by Joe, and they have the best day of their year, we hope.
Oh, yeah, well, that's fantastic, and you keep me on my toes, Laura. You just make sure that that's on the calendar, we get that done, and of course, then we get to see Joe Brooks, because Joe, despite the busy day, he makes it over to City Hall, he shakes every hand, and usually they're there with their spouses, significant other, family members, and yeah, they are very humble, they're a little embarrassed to be receiving the citation, and they enjoy the lunch, and then, it's the whole big event, and all, as Joe and Laura said, to support those who put their lives and their health at risk for the values of this country and democracy the world over. And this is a great way, as Joe said, of supporting, really what's at the heart of their personal lives, their families, making sure that those things are covered so they don't have that added burden when they are dealing with the crises and emergencies that they must deal with on behalf of our nation. So Joe, thank you for joining us. I know you're in the middle of doing all that work, and Laura, thanks for popping in. Everybody, check it out, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, or the website, libertyuso.org. Stay tuned. When we come back, we'll be talking to Clayton Prince, actor, director, producer, writer, and you'll really enjoy this conversation. All right, and we are back. Listen, we were talking to Joe Brooks. He's the president and CEO of Liberty USO. This Friday is the 76th annual USO Gala. And the USO, the Liberty USO, well, they cover all of Pennsylvania and southern New Jersey, do a fantastic job supporting our military by supporting the families of our military. If you want to get involved, again, learn more about what Liberty USO does. You can check them out on all your social media. Just type in Liberty USO. The website is libertyuso.org. And now we're going to talk to our guest, Clayton Prince. Clayton Prince is an actor. He's a writer, producer, and he's a very creative person. And so a lot of things that we talk about on this show is how you can do your best. And I think that there's just so much in common, whether you're a CEO of a company, a professional, or someone who is working with your hands out there. But we're pretty much all faced with the same struggles and challenges. And so we do also have many listeners who are in the creative arts economy. And that's oftentimes a mystery to folks, and I won't say that I know that area, and that's why I bring on guests who do know that area, who are doing things at various levels. So with that, let me welcome Clayton Prince. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, now let me ask you this: when did you first get into acting?
Wow, man, do we have enough time? As a kid, I had that fantasy. And I was really, really lucky that at that time, there was a woman who used to live in the area, named Edie Robb.
Yes.
And she was a talent manager, and she started working with me, and she sent me to New York for auditions. And she really stuck with me, even when I wasn't booking. And then all of a sudden, the Cosby Show really was what changed my life.
Okay. And so, the Cosby Show, when you were on the Cosby Show and that whole how many years ago was that?
Wow, that was in the 80s.
That was in the 80s.
Yeah, I was Denise Huxtable's boyfriend, the reggae singing boyfriend, the brrrr 8 man. That was me. Which actually, Bill let me write that scene.
Oh, is that
Yeah,
right?
so I
Okay,
got to meet
okay.
him.
So you get a little, a chance to spread your wings creatively.
He was great in that regard.
Wow.
He really let us, shine and have our moments. And yeah, if you ever look at that clip where I'm singing reggae,
Yes.
you can actually see Bill and Lisa's face, kind of surprised because nobody knew what I was going to do.
Yeah,
or
it was
say.
unexpected.
Oh, it was great.
Well, that's funny. So let me kind of jump ahead, because here
Yes.
in 2017,
Yes.
now you have added a few more things to kind of what you do. In addition, now you are a writer,
Mhm.
as well as a producer and a director.
Yes. Well, I was making a pretty good living out in New York and LA, and it was always my desire to come back home to Philly and bring some of those Hollywood dollars to Philly.
Right.
And I came up with an idea for a TV show called Cream, which is now available on Amazon Prime, or
Right.
as Amazon.com.
Yeah.
If you type in Cream on Amazon, or if you type in my name, Clayton Prince, it will come up. But the way I got the idea for the show, it's a show about a guy from Philly who owns a record label, and his family is constantly trying to take the record label from him. I got this idea around 2003, 2004. When I would visit Philly, a lot of people who recognized me would give me their demos. And they were like, "Oh, I'm a rapper, I'm a singer, please, here's my demo, can you help me?" Or they would give their demos to my family members. And I just thought, I'm not in the music industry, it's two different
Right,
things.
right.
The music industry and the acting, they just really don't mix that often. And they said, "Oh, you could help me if you wanted to, and here, just listen to it." So I would take it home, and some of this stuff was really good.
Right.
And some of it was really not.
Right.
But I listened to it, and I had so many free demos. I thought, I have enough for a soundtrack. So I thought, with all this music, what kind of story could I create? And that's when I came up with the idea for Cream, to create a guy from Philly who owns a record label. So we actually shot a pilot. We shot two different pilots. The first one we shot was in 2008 or 7, I want to say, around there, maybe 2005. And it was 2005 we shot the pilot, and I felt pretty strongly about it, but I couldn't get it picked up.
Now, let me stop you for a second for our listeners who are not familiar with what you're trying to do. Here you are, an actor, you're making money, you get a little creative abilities, you visit Philly, you're getting these demos, and as you said, that's not your line of work. People are giving you music, all that.
Yeah.
And then you think like, hey, what could I do? So you go ahead and shoot a pilot. I'm imagining with not a lot of money.
Out of my pocket.
Out of your pocket, you shoot a demo, put your what you have in your mind onto film.
Yes.
Now you say, see if it'll get picked up. What are you doing with it?
Yeah, well, like I said, I took it to a few networks, and it was kind of risque, a little edgy, so a lot of people thought.
What was risque? And we're talking about what year? 2000?
This 2005 when I shot the first pilot.
Right.
I did another one in 2010.
Okay.
Because I really believed in the project.
Okay. So you shoot the first pilot, and you're going out to meet studios or networks?
Yeah,
Who
yeah.
are you trying to meet?
I went to HBO with it. I went to Showtime with it. I went to BET. I went to. I did a movie with Patti LaBelle called Cover.
Yes.
And I asked her if she'd walk it to TV1 for me, which
Yes.
she did. And
But let me ask you this,
Yes.
why? Because what I always have to remind our listeners is elevator music today was crazy music yesterday. And so even though it wasn't that long ago, you said you went to, and they were saying it might be a little edgy, it might be a little risque for them. What was at that time the issue about edgy and risque?
I can't really speak for them, why they felt it was too edgy. I think, from my perspective, is that I really got a chance to talk to people from Philly. And I touched on issues that I think a lot of people weren't touching on in the industry. The sexual, what can I say?
We could say promiscuity, is that a good word? No?
We could say that, but I would say sexual, what's the word I'm looking for? Irresponsibility.
Okay.
I think that touches on it more.
Right.
And domestic violence, and
okay.
and adoption, and things like that. We really want to talk about things that were really affecting people.
And you got that from talking to people that were giving you these demos, or how did you find out about it?
I think a lot of people in LA really don't talk to people that they're selling to. I think they're a little out of touch with what people are going through. So I wanted to write a show that people could relate to, because a lot of people think, well, you're in show business, so you can't really relate to what my life is. And really, we go through things just like everybody else does.
Right.
And I want to show that even though there's this guy who you think has it all, he really doesn't. He's going through so much that you're not even aware of.
And listen, we're going to talk about that in a second, but yes. But interestingly enough, that all relates to this creative project that you did called Cream.
Yes. So with Cream,
Yeah.
so I didn't have any luck. So I thought I need a bigger name to walk it through for me.
Okay.
So I asked a gentleman named Lee Daniels.
Very famous director.
Yes, I asked Lee Daniels to walk Cream over to the network. I knew that he had friends who own networks. I don't want to say who those people are. And I asked him if he would walk it over, and he loved the concept. And next thing I know, I did not hear from him, but I hear about this show called Empire.
Wow.
That happens to be about a guy
big
from
hit.
Philly who owns a record label. And Lee has not gotten in touch with me since then.
But you have filed a lawsuit, and this
Yes.
is really not what the show's about. But you have filed a lawsuit, and
Yes.
and hopefully that gets all worked out. But in the meantime, you know, I guess your pilot or your first 4 episodes is now available on Amazon.
Yes, we shot 4 one-hour episodes that are now available on Amazon Prime. These are episodes that were shot in 2010,
5 years before.
before anyone
Empire
knew
comes
anything
out.
about Empire.
Right.
So I would ask everyone who's listening to please watch Cream. And if you feel that there are similarities, then please mention that in the comments. But you know, I can't tell you what to do or say. But my hope is that if we get enough people to watch Cream, then I can bring that show to Philadelphia, and we can all the people who supply the music for Cream. Please, if you do watch the show on Amazon, please support the musicians from Philly and the songwriters from Philly who gave their music for this show. Please support them. Please get their music, which is also available on Amazon and I believe iTunes. But please support this show so that we can bring those Hollywood dollars here, and people can actually have a great job in the industry here in Philadelphia, which is what the concept always was. And it's sad that Empire is not shot here.
Yeah, let me ask you that, because well, first of all, everybody knows I'm a Philadelphia councilman, so
Right.
obviously I'm quite interested in, you know, whatever creates opportunities and jobs and other things and lifts up our city. But, you know, the original concept, you said, was about a Philly guy, and you're getting Philly music.
Showcasing people from Philly, the music
Why
of
do you
Philadelphia.
think that the television show Empire is not filmed or really kind of centered here?
Well, if people who watch the show know that the characters are from Philadelphia, but they shoot in Chicago. My assumption would be Lee knows that I'm here, and I'm sure that would be very uncomfortable for him if he shot Empire here.
Okay, okay.
That's my opinion.
Right.
But yeah, and I think that's sad, because it was supposed to be about bringing something to Philly and helping the people from Philly, and he knew that. But for whatever reason, he wanted.
It ends up, and listen, in all fairness, I've never seen the lawsuit. I don't
Yeah.
know what it's about, so he will have whatever he's going to say through his lawyers. But my point is, and we were just talking about this, that you know, some people may look at you and say, well, he's got the easy life, he's on television, he's got the glamorous life, and you were just saying like how everyone's got their struggles, and for many of the folks out there who aren't in the creative arts economy, they can kind of relate to what you're saying, and for those who are in the creative arts economy, whether it's music or film or television, you know, they can probably tune right into what you're saying and say, you know, I better learn a little more about how this whole process works here, because you had this
Yes.
idea You actually shot a pilot, you did 4 episodes, and, you know, there's now a dispute because a gentleman that you went to, very, you know, respected gentleman, ends up with a project called Empire.
Yes.
That very much follows great similarities to what you just said.
Yes.
Skipping ahead to today, you now have 4 episodes on Amazon. Everybody can see it, they can get the ideas. In your career, in terms of not just you know, the claim that you have that, hey, this is my idea, and I want to continue to move this idea forward the way I envisioned it. But in your career as an actor, writer, producer, where do you go from here?
Well, I'd like to touch on one thing that you did say.
Yes.
A lot of people have asked me if I had such a great idea, I should have copywritten it. So if you just give your ideas freely, then of course, if it's a great idea, someone's going to take it, which is true. But the fact is that we have copyright, which is not being contested in court. They acknowledge that I have the copyright and that I pitched it to Lee Daniels. And their only argument is the substantial similarities. That's the only thing they're contesting, which can be seen on Amazon Prime now. There are 2 things that I have going for me in this lawsuit, which sadly most people don't have. One, I did have the money to shoot a pilot so that everyone can see it. Most people only write an idea down,
Right.
and that's all they can afford to do. But here we actually have visuals, and everyone in the world can see it now on Amazon. But also, the sad thing is, even though if you have a copyright, it is hard to get legal representation and people and to fight for your copyright, even if you own it. I am blessed that my lawyer, Mary Beth Bogan, has been there for me, and she is working ferociously against the people at Fox and Lee Daniels and all the other defendants that are named in the lawsuit. I have something in Mary Beth that most people don't have.
Right.
And that's a lawyer that I can actually trust. So I thank God for Mary Beth Bogan. Because I'm sure you've heard of cases with things like with Microsoft and
Yeah, listen, I'm an attorney, so I'm quite familiar with the fact that, you know, at the end of the day, you may have an idea, you may protect it, you may have a non-disclosure, but if someone takes your idea, you don't have the money to fight them.
Yes.
And that becomes the issue.
Yes, and that's the sad truth. And it's the same thing here. And I assume that that's what the defendants in my case were hoping for, which they're now finding out. Yeah, that's not the case. So it's funny. I thank you for talking about the show because a lot of people actually won't. TMZ, they won't touch this story because TMZ is owned by Fox.
Right.
And this is Fox's #1 show, and Fox just realized that I have a copyright, and so that's a worrisome thing.
Wow.
So yeah, so you're actually one of the few people who will speak publicly. So thank you very much.
Well, listen, thank you for being on the show. I mean, we have this conversation, you're telling your story, and I find that, it is an interesting story and also a story that will help the listeners, and they can kind of look and see for themselves, and whatever happens, the lawsuit will happen.
Yeah.
But I appreciate your coming on to share your experience.
And it would be great, because like you said, I'm telling my side, it would be great if Lee Daniels or someone from his camp is listening. They should come on your show, the David O Show, and they should truly voice their side. I would love to listen to
Well,
that.
listen, they're certainly
But that'd be great.
welcome to do so. Well,
And you do welcome everyone. That's a
no,
great thing.
thank you very much. We will be right back after this commercial break because we will be talking to Aces Museum, and so stay tuned for that. Okay, and we are back. Listen, coming up on Friday and Saturday, October 27th, October 28th, there will be the Kingdom Men's Conference, Crime Prevention Summit, tearing down the walls of indifference and building bridges of excellence. That's going to be Friday, October the 27th at 6 p.m. and then in the morning the following day, Saturday, October the 28th at 8 a.m. This is a free event. It is It is going to have some great speakers, some fantastic panelists, including keynote speaker Dr. H. Gene Wright II and Dr. W. Wilson Good Sr. To find out more, you can register online at www.mount, it's MTAIRY for Mount Airy Kojic, COGIC.com. And the telephone number, if you'd like to make a phone call, is 215-278-2960. All right, so please check that out. Well, listen, right now I have James Douglas, Commander James Douglas. He is a Vietnam War veteran, and he is here to talk about ACES Museum. Have you ever heard of ACES Museum? Well, it is in Germantown Avenue and a entity that you should visit. Commander, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Could you tell our listeners what is ACES Museum? What's it all about?
ACES Museum is basically something that was created to try and give people a chance to find out about the minority veterans. Okay, and it so happens that 5801 Germantown Avenue was the official site of the first USO for minority service people. Okay, what happened was during that time, the service was separated. They had a white service and they had others.
And we're talking about basically World War II, that
Right.
era, and before, by the way,
Right.
but up until then, yes.
Right. And because of that, really, the government eventually decided, well, let's get one for the minorities.
Mhm.
And the first one they set up was in Germantown, here in Philadelphia.
Wow, the first ever.
Right,
Wow,
for
so
minorities.
very historic location.
Yes, it is. And in that same building, they also had a place called Parker Hall. Parker Hall was the first, of course, really entertainment area for the USO.
Yeah.
USOs all throughout the country had entertainment really for the military personnel.
Right.
And they also had places for the military to stay and do other things, something like the wives did also.
Right.
Okay, so it was more or less a thing really when it was something that was needed, since you couldn't legally or whatever at the time attend the white USOs.
Right.
Okay, so what they did was they created this minority one, and it so happens that at this time, okay, nowadays it's being reopened and reused, and we're trying to remind people really of the historic significance and background of it.
Yes.
And it so happens that really that Dr. Hankins, okay, acquired the building a few years ago, not knowing what the building was or what significance it had really among the area or historically among really the military or minorities.
Yes.
Okay, but she found that out by accident when she was taking a plane trip.
Okay.
And she happened to mention that she was a doctor while she was on the plane speaking with someone, and that she was a doctor in Philadelphia. And when she told them about the location, they asked her, did she know that that location was the site really of this USO? And of course she didn't. But she said she did notice that some of the areas in the building were blocked off and things of that nature. So she said she would, take a look now that she found that out and see what she could see. And when she started breaking through walls and looking in different areas, she started then seeing really that what she had been told was correct. So then she started doing some research on it. Now then, since it has been set up this way really, we're trying to restore it and get Parker Hall back to what it once was, and also to let people know really what the military and the government was actually doing at that time.
Right.
And one of the things really is, and so she decided to do this with a museum. And the museum was she decided to call ACES. ACES because really back in those days they used to call blacks, especially spades. Okay, and she figured, well, if we're going to be called a spade, then be called the best spade, which is the ace of spade in the deck.
Right.
Okay, so that's where the name came from of ACES.
Yes, and let me just interrupt for a second because we unfortunately only have a few minutes left, but let me just jump ahead a little bit to say to our listeners that in a segregated military, and there's so much history of how integration of troops, because at the end of the day, we needed to win wars and we needed capable, able fighting people, men and women, and so the military was among the first to be integrated, but unfortunately the rest of the society had not. And so in addition to the fact that there's this historic site, the USO and all that, a lot of the history of the service of Americans of color, African Americans and others, was not recorded. And so when younger people look at the history, they don't learn about the service of African Americans in our nation's wars and other things and the sacrifices made. And so ACE's museum covers this very important point.
Okay, all right. Go ahead. Okay, one of the things that I would like to add to that is that we have at ACES really a variety of different really soldiers or military personnel, various backgrounds, okay? Unknown to a lot of people, it was more than just blacks that were considered minorities, okay? Anybody that was not European at that time was considered a minority. Okay, so that included really, and you could have been European because even Italians and others, some really were considered minorities.
Yes.
But in this country, but this information was not really given out quite as much nowadays as it should be, because really the history doesn't focus on these points as much as it could, and we need to focus more on it because we have at the museum we have really artifacts for not just blacks, but we have for Irish, for Polish, for the different really groups that were considered minorities. Okay, we have it there really for Asians, we have it there really for Hispanics, all different types. So it's not limited, even though it says ACES, okay, it's not limited to only blacks.
All right, and with that, let me just say that that's very powerful because, yes, there are times where ethnic groups were not accepted in this country, but they served in our military. So ACES Museum, everybody, check it out. And join me next Tuesday for In the Know with David O.